Hey everybody, welcome back to our 17 time periods class. This week I kind of wanted to take a pause and let's go ahead and review our hand motions. We've been saying refer back to the first video, but let's go ahead and review all of them today. So we start with before the flood, and we make, I always say hug like your beach ball, or, we're really hugging a world. And that's the time when God created the world. So we have before the flood, then we have the flood, when it rained. Okay, then we had scattering of the people. And you make your tower and then you break it. And remember, that also signifies Genesis chapter 11. So scattering of the people, then the patriarchs, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and Joseph. Then we have Exodus from Egypt, make like you're swimming and parting the Red Sea. Okay, and then we have the wandering in the wilderness. Remember, we talked about that last time when the people were wandering for 40 years. Then we have invasion and conquest of Canaan. So you hold your palm out, you circle around the land, and then you take it. Okay, that's so circle and slice is the way a lot of my classes like to say it. Circle, slice. And then we have the judges. Then we have United Kingdom, when Israel and Judah were together. We'll talk about that later. And then we have divided kingdom, when they're two separate nations. Then we have Israel is taken, so Judah is alone. So we have Judah alone. Then we have captivity, when Judah is taken. Then Judah comes back, so we have the remnant comes back and return from captivity. That bottom hand comes back because that's Judah. So return from captivity, years of silence, life of Christ, remember the nails in Jesus's hands. Then we have the church, early church, and then letters to the Christians. Okay, I hope you guys are finding that very helpful. All right, so last time we talked about wandering in the wilderness, and I did not introduce this character, but if you were paying attention to the time card, you'll see, so we had Moses. He was our leader, is who we talked about. So both in the Exodus and both in the time of wandering in the wilderness, Moses is the leader. But if you notice, we have a young man, and his name is Joshua. I did not talk about him last time, but he was also, he was kind of coming into being a leader. He was younger. Moses was the older, seasoned leader, and then Joshua was kind of being set up to be the leader after the time of Moses. So we talked about last time that because the Israelites complained a lot, they were going to be punished from God because they decided to complain and grumble and were not thankful for all the blessings and all of the provisions God gave to them, that he was going to set them up to have to wander until that entire generation, that entire group until they passed away. They were going to have to pass away in the wilderness, and until a new generation would rise up. And so while they're in the wilderness, the generation of complainers is dying off to make way for this new generation that could take the land of promise that God had set up for them. But he said that because of the complaining, the grumbling, this generation from Egypt that went through the Exodus and went through the crossing the Red Sea would not get to see the land of promise. Okay, and so we are also, Moses is the leader. He makes some poor choices in which God says his punishment for those choices was that he would not get to enter the land. Moses was allowed to see the land from like a mountaintop. He was able to see and look over and see the land that the Israelites were about to get, but was not allowed to enter the land himself because of some decisions that he made. Okay, so let's go ahead, and so that's where we're at in the time of the Bible. We're in the wandering stage, and we're getting ready to enter the invasion and conquest. Let's go ahead and introduce our vocab for the week. I just have one new vocab word and then one other word that we've already seen before. So our previous word was choice. We kind of just talked about that a lot with the decisions that the group made in the wilderness and also the decisions that Moses made. And remember, choice means that you have many different options, and which one are you going to pick? Your choice is the option that you pick. So for example, a very simple example would be, for dinner, if I want to choose between, I don't know, Chick-fil-A and pizza, which one am I going to pick? Choice doesn't always mean it's something good or negative. It just means there's more than one option, and which way are we going to go? Okay, so that's a choice. And then our new word is serve. Okay, serve means that you do something for somebody else. For example, you might go to a restaurant and you have a server, or sometimes they're called a waiter or waitress. They bring you your food, they bring you your napkins, they refill your cup. They're doing something for you. that means to serve, doing something for somebody else. Okay, so that's going to be a very prominent word in our story today. So going through to the invasion and conquest, we see that so in the previous card, Joshua was younger, as illustrated. He's got the black hair, and then invasion and conquest, he's a little bit older. So the invasion and conquest, Israel, as we remember back to Abraham, God had promised that they would have, one of the blessings through Abraham was going to be a land. And so God had promised that Abraham's family would inherit a land. And so the time has come. This generation of grumbling and complainers has passed away, and we have a new generation. And so they are going to get to receive the land of promise that God had set aside for them. Now, that doesn't mean, and the way God designed it was not that they would just be, oh, the time of wandering has ended. You get to just kind of relax, and this land is going to just fall into your lap. That's not the way God planned it. God set it up to where they're going to have to work to receive this blessing. Yes, God has prepared the way. They're going to have this land, but they're going to have to work for it. And there's some provisions with that. So currently the land has people in it, and they're not, so it's not that it's just this empty land. It's this beautiful, very land with lots of fruit and lots of wonderful foods and different things that they're going to get to enjoy. But in order to get that blessing, they're going to have to work. As in the garden, we see that God has always intended for man to work. It's not just that God gives us these blessings. Sometimes he does. There's not any kind of work we have to do, but sometimes we do have to work to receive the blessings God has planned for us. And this is an instance where that was the case. God has a land set up for them that he wants them to have, but they're going to have to work in order to get it. So right now there's, when they come up to it, this land is filled with people, but unfortunately these people do not honor God. They have set up their own gods. They're called idols. It's just statues or different things that these people have created and have decided to serve. They are doing things and saying that these idols are taking care of them. These idols provide them blessings. They serve these idols and these statues and do things for them, but they don't for God. And that God has a problem with that, because he's the creator. He's the one that made them. And so he says, I'm done with these people who, kind of like in the time of Noah, there's all these people who are not serving him. There's a lot of evil going on. And so he's saying to Joshua and the Israelites, I want you to have this land, this beautiful land that people have that are not honoring me. I want you to have this beautiful land. And so I want you to get rid of these people because they are not serving me. And they are just constantly promoting evil and not following me. And so your job, Joshua and Israelites, is I want you to have this beautiful land, but you got to get rid of the people who live there first. That's your job. And with that, their job was they needed to totally clear out all of these people, because God said, if you leave these people and you leave the evil that they are doing, they're going to influence you and my people to do evil. So that was part of the plan, and part of the instruction to get this land was clear them out completely. Don't leave anybody, because if you leave them, they're gonna cause you guys, and they're gonna lead you guys to stop serving me, and I don't want that. And so their task was clear out the land completely, and it's yours. So that's what their job was to do. And so God sends them on a lot of invasion. Their job was to invade, to go in and to clear out these people and to kill and get rid of all these people that were not serving God. That was their job. Invade and take it over. So invasion and conquest means to go in, take it over, and live, and you get to have the land. So that's what this section is about. And there's a lot of interesting stories during this time period in the book of Joshua. The story of Jericho. I'm not going to touch on that story very heavily. We'll sing a song about it. But before the story of Jericho, which is kind of a very famous story, there's this really neat short kind of section of scripture. I'm going to actually read it. So this section of scripture comes from the beginning of Joshua, and it's going to talk about the commander of the Lord's army. So this is in Joshua chapter 5. It's just a few short verses. I'm going to go ahead and read it. I'm going to be reading from the ESV, and it says, "When Joshua was by Jericho, he lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, a man was standing before him with his drawn sword in his hand. And Joshua went to him and said, 'Are you for us or for our adversaries?'" That means our enemy. That means the people who are living in Jericho. And he said, "No." So Joshua kind of asks this, "Are you for me or are you for my enemy?" And he says, "No." That kind of really didn't answer Joshua's question, did it? But let's listen to what his answer was. It wasn't just no. It said, "No. But I am the commander of the Lord, the army of the Lord, and now I have come." And Joshua fell on his face to the earth and worshiped and said to him, "What does my Lord say to his servant?" And the commander of the Lord's army said to Joshua, "Take off your sandals from your feet, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. So this commander of the Lord's army, so we see God is not just sending them into battle and kind of hoping that they're going to be the strongest army to defeat all these. God is going to be with his people. God has commanders and stuff that Joshua couldn't see that are going to be forces helping Joshua and his armies to defeat these people who are in the land. God is going to be with them. But Joshua's perspective when this commander comes is he for me or is he for the other guy? Like, which way is he going? And the guy says, "No, I'm not for you and I'm not for the other guy. I'm for God." And that's kind of the perspective I think we need to have is it's not about, is somebody for us, is somebody with me and what I choose to do and what I think is right, or are they with people who aren't? The question should always be, am I with God's side? And is the other person or other thing that I'm dealing with God's side? It's not about me. It's about, is it for God or not for God? And that's kind of the kind of cool perspective and kind of an interesting, but very significant and very important story that we learn in the book of Joshua is that it's not about, serving is not about who's right, who's wrong, what perspective. Our service and what we choose to do should always be about, are we with God or are we not with God? And that's kind of the whole story of Joshua is, here was people, the Israelites were hoping to be with God. And then there's these people who weren't with God. And that was kind of the whole conflict was people who were for God and people who were not for God. So that's kind of the story of the invasion and conquest section. At the end of the book of Joshua, so they've had the battles now. And as you study the book of Joshua, you will find that unfortunately the Israelites did not clear out all the people like they were supposed to. And that resulted in problems later for the rest of the generations of the Israelites because they left evil in the land, which God told them not to. They didn't listen. They did a lot of good. They did a lot of following, but they didn't fully get rid of all of the evil that was in the land. But Joshua at the end of the book ends with a very famous speech before the Israelite people where he says, you have to choose who you're going to serve. You can choose the gods of Egypt like your fathers sometimes did, or the gods of these people in the land. Who are you going to serve? He says, but as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord. And so that's kind of for us as well. Who are we going to serve? Are we going to serve, the gods of our generation, the gods of, wealth, the gods of fame, the gods of different things that can be set up in our country, politics, sports, anything can be a god if you put it before serving God. But we have to make the choice. Who are we going to serve? Are we going to put our efforts towards these other things, or are we going to put our efforts towards God? So that's kind of the story of Joshua, kind of a very good one for us to be thinking about. Who are we serving and who do we choose to serve? We're going to sing a couple songs, and then I've got kind of an assignment for you guys. Let's go ahead. This song is called "The Battle Belongs to the Lord." And this is not necessarily a traditional just children's song. This is one we sing in our adult assemblies as well. But I think it's very fitting with the story of invasion and conquest and the story of Joshua. And it goes like this. In heavenly armor we'll enter the land. The battle belongs to the Lord. No weapon that's fashioned against us will stand. The battle belongs to the Lord, and we sing glory, honor, power, and strength to the Lord. We sing glory, honor, power, and strength to the Lord. And then this song, like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about Jericho just with this song. This is a great kids one for the little ones. And it goes, this is called The Walls of Jericho. It goes like this. The Lord told Joshua to go to Jericho and to march 7 times around. He followed faithfully the blessed Lord's command, and the walls came tumbling down. Yes, the walls came tumbling down. Joshua marched 7 times round. Then the walls, all the walls came tumbling down, and the walls came tumbling down. So both of those are kind of have a militaristic expression, but that's kind of what this whole section is, and just talking about the battles, both the physical battles that Joshua endured, but also our spiritual battles that we deal with today, is kind of a good correlation and a good thing to be thinking about. So before we close out, we've been learning a lot of vocab words, and so I thought it'd be a good time to stop and review our vocab words. So if you'll give me just a second, I'm going to do a screen share and pop up these words. Let's see. Here we go. All right. All right, so hopefully on your screen, you should be seeing these are our vocab words, all the ones that we've had so far. So we have obey, disobey, deliver, choice, rainbow, righteous, prideful, scatter, babble, trust, promise, plan, wandering, plagues, exodus, complain, punish, and serve. So what I would like for you guys, what I would challenge you guys to do for you older ones is to talk with your parents or write out a definition for each of these, or just to practice writing these. This is a good exercise to help you just review and think about the different words that we have learned. All right, so thank you guys so much for joining us. And let me go ahead and I'm going to leave this one up for you guys for the rest of the video. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you guys with us another time. Hope that everybody is staying healthy, and we'll see you guys later.